Welcome to Ashes of the Singularity II Video Dev Journal. My name is Brett Norton, Executive Producer on Ashes of the Singularity II, and today's Video Dev Journal is about armies in the Warfront. Armies are the real backbone of how units are grouped and controlled in Ashes of the Singularity II. In this case, I have an army right here. It's got the number 5 above its little banner, and it's engaged with a bunch of hostile units. Armies are how players control and order around their units. In this case, this army is composed of many different unit types. You can see that I've got tanks, I've got some anti-air units, and even a scout vehicle. They're illustrated all here in this bottom section, and I can modify the composition of this army at any time. And as units are destroyed, I can have those units be replaced either automatically or manually. In this case, I've got this army set up to automatically reinforce and supply new units once they're destroyed. I can also modify that composition by just going into this screen here and say, let's add a couple more leopard tanks to it. Add those in. As you can see, as these units are being destroyed during this engagement, they're automatically being queued up for replacement. Now they're being replaced from up here. This motor pool building in one of my northern regions is producing new vehicles, and as you can see, they're rolling off the assembly line and automatically moving south to rally with wherever Army 5 is. In this case, Army 5 is running into some stiff damage, and all the frontline units have been destroyed, but the army survives as there's still some units here in the back line that are moving up. And as these units get replaced, they'll charge forward into the fray, and I can order them and tell them to go where I want to, and I'll have them engage this region over here in the hopes that we can take this region from the enemy. Now, while Army 5 sort of replaces its lost units and rebuilds over there, let's go over here and check out another one of the front lines. Way over here on this side, I've got some friendly tanks that have engaged a number of vehicles. So let's go ahead and bring Army 6 down. Now, Army 6 is located over here, closer to this motor pool facility that I've previously built. Looks like there's some heavy fighting, so once again, let's add a couple more tanks and try an anti-air to this one and hit confirm. Now, as these units get built, you'll notice that it's automatically choosing to produce those units from this motor pool right here. While this fight rages over here to the south, this motor pool is going to intelligently produce the units for the army, given that this army is just closer to this motor pool. Go ahead and set this army up to auto-replenish, which means that as any units are defeated, it will automatically queue up in order to replace those ones. I do have to spend a resource to do so, it's not free, but it will at least take away the hassle of having to select the facility, produce the units, re-rally them, perhaps regroup them. All that's done automatically through the army system. So this also becomes a major tool for maintaining different multiple warfronts at the same time. Let's grab my scout army that I've stationed right over here, bring it over here to help out. Maybe we can stop these scouts, get into engagement, see if I can take over this base. But as you can see, things aren't going super well. I'm managing to make some slow, steady progress over here on the eastern front with Army number 5, but we're going to want this to happen faster. So let's go ahead and construct a motor pool that's a lot closer to the front line. Motor pool produces most of the UEF's vehicles, and I think I'm going to need something a bit closer. So we'll slap down a motor pool there, throw out maybe a couple of turrets to back it up, and let those produce while Army 5 tries to hold the front line against the enemy forces over here on the right. As soon as that motor pool over here finishes production, new units reinforcing Army 5 can produce from this motor pool, much closer than the previous one I was using way back up here. It's taking a long time for those units to traverse multiple regions to come down here to join in the fight. So this is a bit risky. Obviously, I'm building this motor pool and throwing down some expenses here that are pretty risky. As you can see, Green's forces have come over, and I've just managed to intercept them with Army 1's recon and stall them out while the motor pool finishes. And now, as you can see, any army that's close by to this motor pool will have its reinforcements automatically constructed from that. So Army 5 better get over there and help out. So Army 1, which is also set up to auto-replenish, is now taking a pounding from all of these vehicles. It's not, these Pathfinders are not great frontline units, so they're not going to be able to withstand this fight for long. Definitely going to need these turrets over here to help hold this off. But now Army 5's managed to make short work of these foes and is now coming over here. And as you can see, as Army 1 gets, let's just say, slaughtered here, it is trying to produce additional Pathfinders to compensate for their losses from this production facility, but it's not exactly keeping up. They're getting pushed back over and over again, and we'll pull them back as Army 5 is a bit stronger and is more suited to a frontline engagement. So let's produce a couple more Leopards for Army 5, try to keep them engaged in the front. And let's scroll over here. Oh, looks like my teammate's sending in some good reinforcements. Fighters having a bit of an air superiority battle, while my teammate sends over some units to help. Down here, while I've been hanging out over here, my Army 6 has helped manage to control this region. We'll go ahead and move them down over here, take them out, and try to engage these hostile tanks over here on this front, have them move on over, do some engagement, and see if we can capture these middle ground ones. So while Army 5 manages the eastern front, we'll have Army 6 fly over here and help engage here. So it's important to note that production facilities do produce different types of units, and while Army 5 over here is being reinforced since it's mostly vehicles, if I wanted to reinforce and make some infantry, I would need to find the closest barracks to do that from. In this case, let's say I want to position some infantry to help reinforce defenses here at my headquarters structure. I've got a barracks nearby, and if I choose to recruit some rifle squads, throw it down here. It sets an initial rally point to where I'm looking, which is right here, and I can move that around if I want to. And there we go. It's going to produce some infantry, and it's opting to choose them to produce them from this barracks right here, which is the closest barracks facility that I have to this headquarters. So now they'll make their way over, and while they're moving over and automatically reinforcing railing, I can select them. I can do whatever I want them. I can tell them to move different locations. I can order around individual units if I want to, take up different defensive positions around my base. I can be as picky with this as I want to, or if I just really care about getting them as close to the headquarters as possible, grab that whole army, give them an order to go there, and it will automatically send that order out to all the units in the army and tell them to go there. So while this has been happening, the battle's been waging over here on fronts 5 and 6. Let's head on over. Looks like my teammate managed to roll in, and Army 5 has managed to make some headway, pushing into the enemy base here. They've obviously taken some casualties, but the production facilities and now being much closer to the front line is sort of letting me win this battle of attrition slowly over time. So that's the value for moving your production facilities close. It is risky, and you always do face the possibility that your opponent could line up their forces and cut you off or just destroy the production facilities outright. But it makes reinforcing the front line much easier, much faster, and for advancing into your opponent's territories, that becomes very important. And obviously, destroying opponents' key production facilities, capturing those regions, or cutting those regions off and depowering them makes for an important strategy if you want to slow down their war machine as well. So logistics are very important, and they help you drive where the war front is and how you can resupply and reinforce your armies. Looks like my ally here is building up some facilities as well, putting a front line armory there to back up this, probably to produce some artillery and tank destroyers as well too. Now zooming out, we've shown a couple of warfronts here. We've got this sort of warfront along the waterline and the warfront over here amongst the hills, but this is just a small portion of the warfronts that are currently happening here in this match. Zooming on out here, we can see the breadth of everything that's happening across multiple different warfronts. Way over here on the other side of the map, they have obviously had a pretty massive warfront going on this side as well too, where the two sides are clashing in this valley. And a few different fights even raging over here as a battle of gunships and various air superiority fighters rage coming over the top of this hillside. And it looks like somebody's trying to sneak around some tanks coming down here along the path to sneak into the backside of this base too. This is a good, clever AI. But this gives you a sense of the scale and scope of battles as they rage across the battlefield here in Ashes of the Singularity II. We hope that you've enjoyed today's video dev journal on Armies in the Warfront, and we hope that you'll wishlist Ashes of the Singularity II on Steam. Thank you for watching.